Chapter 966. Battle of Etion Mountain, Two Halves. Central Continent. Boom. Suddenly, an intense explosion broke the tranquility of the mountain valley. The aftermath of the explosion created a huge inferno that rapidly spread in all directions in just a breath of time. The lush trees in the surroundings were destroyed, and the area became a barren desert. The rank 8 Gu immortals that came from Heavenly Court gradually revealed their figures. They had formed a circle, each of them heavily injured, their gazes looking heavily at the proud and aloof figure in the center. Immortal zombie Bo Qing was standing upright and proud like a spear. He slowly moved his eyes. A sword light suddenly flickered from them. The 8 Gu immortals were terrified. 3 even subconsciously retreated a step. In the intense battle earlier, they had suffered a lot under these sword lights coming from his eyes. However, the sword light in Bo Qing's eyes died out in an instant. Afterwards, the lively light in his eyes completely dissipated. His whole body became motionless like a stone statue. Success. We finally killed the remnant soul within Bo Qing. Heavenly Court's Gu immortals let out breaths of relief. They had obtained victory in this battle. Bo Qing was known as a pseudo-immortal venerable, but he had only left behind his corpse, and the remnant soul in it was Mo Yao's. Heavenly Court's Gu immortals targeted this weak point, using their battle tactics to completely annihilate Mo Yao's remnant soul. Without the control of the remnant soul, Bo Qing's immortal zombie body moved no longer. It has been so long since I had such a thrilling battle. A Gu immortal sighed, deeply moved. Fortunately, this immortal zombie Bo Qing had such a huge weakness, otherwise someone among us would definitely be annihilated. It is a pity we couldn't take it alive. After taking this immortal zombie body to Heavenly Court and storing it properly, I will continue my sleep. Previously, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord by Chun Tian and Lian Jiusheng used an immortal Gu house, Illusion Garden, to trap immortal zombie Bo Qing, and Yu Mu Chun. Bo Qing battled the 3 immortals with incredible sword path might. Heavenly Court's 3 immortals were no match for him and could only request for reinforcements. 5 Gu immortals from Heavenly Court had no choice but to come out of their rest and enter the mortal world as reinforcements. The 8 Gu immortals formed an ancient battle formation, and after over a month, they finally killed Yu Mu Chun and extinguished Mo Yao's remnant soul. The battle ended. The 5 Heavenly Court Gu immortals that were awoken immediately returned to their headquarters and continued to rest. They had almost no lifespan remaining. They had to treasure every second they had. Chun Tian and Lian Jiusheng also wanted to leave, but their situation was better than the 5 immortals. They still had time to care for their descendants and sections, but Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord gave the task of cleaning up the battlefield to Bai Chun Tian and persuaded Lian Jiusheng to go to the riverbed of Falling Heavenly River and search again. He now was flying towards Heavenly Court. Although we have won this battle, my unease has instead increased, and I am feeling very restless, as if an apocalypse is approaching. Standing in front of Heaven Overseeing Tower, this old rank 8 Gu immortal frowned. He stepped inside the tower and continued the previous deductions. What's going on? Soon, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's forehead was dripping with sweat. His gaze was extremely puzzled. There was an enormous pressure which made it difficult for him to move forward. In the past, he only needed to spend a bead of rank 8 immortal essence for each step. But this time, he did not know why, but the consumption of immortal essence had doubled. Ever since I have been in control of Heaven Overseeing Tower, there has never been such a situation. What's happening? Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's intuition was urgently telling him. Sword Immortal Bo Qing's matter was only a prelude, and behind the scenes, there was an even stronger mastermind. I understand. It seems someone is secretly hindering me from deducing. If that is the case, then I want to succeed even more. I will walk to the top of the tower. I want to see who it is that has escaped the judgment of fate. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord continued to climb. His expression was firm with no more puzzlement. But after he climbed 100 steps, the wall turned dark. It was like the darkest, blackest ink had spilled over the whole wall. There were no more images. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's heart sank. Who is it? Who is interfering with my deduction? They could actually interfere with a rank 9 immortal Gu house, Heaven Overseeing Tower, to this degree. Time continued to pass. A month later, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord finally stepped onto the top floor of the tower. He was extremely exhausted. Most of the immortal essence accumulated in his lifetime had been consumed. He looked at the wall with anticipation. After the first pitch-black wall, he no longer saw other images. However, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord knew fate immortal goos might extended over the whole world and could not be blocked. The wall at the end would definitely reveal the true perpetrator behind the scenes. When he stepped on the top floor, he widened his eyes, gazing impatiently. At the next moment, his pupils shrunk down to pin size. His aged body shook intensely. The final wall was still pitch black. Darkness, incomparably deep darkness. But unlike before, in this darkness, a pair of eyes were shining. This was a pair of human eyes, but it was filled with bone-chilling coldness and terrifying killing intent. They gazed at Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord like a beast hiding in the darkness, waiting patiently for an opportunity, upon which it would charge of the darkness, causing terror over the world. You are, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord was soaked with cold sweat. He trembled, and even his teeth chattered. After a long while, he barely managed to calm down. But fear and panic still remained on his face. Crisis. A huge crisis. If this is left unchecked, even Heavenly Court will be destroyed. Immortal zombie Bo Ching was no more than a distraction for us. I must awaken many more of Heavenly Court's goo immortals. This is a battle that decides our survival. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord did not hesitate. He ran out of the Heaven Overseeing Tower, directly to Floating Maple Cliff. On Floating Maple Cliff, there was a giant goo formation. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord decisively activated the goo formation. A sound of a bell, vast and unparalleled, immediately resounded throughout the sky. Heavenly Court shook, at the same time, in southern border. Finally, the deduction has succeeded. Fang Yuan had already taken another appearance and stepped onto Etion Mountain, his immortal aperture sealed. After obtaining a portion of old immortal Kong Ju's inheritance from Blazing Heaven Demonis, Fang Yuan did not encounter any obstacles in his deduction. Using the method of sealing the immortal aperture, Fang Yuan sealed his own immortal aperture and turned into a rank 3 goo master, officially stepping into this huge stage at this time. The situation on Etion Mountain had already undergone a huge change. Large numbers of goo masters had entered both the righteous and demonic sides. The righteous path had initiated the third and fourth waves of offense. Both sides suffered heavy losses. On the demonic path side, Second Zombie King had summoned many of his disciples, their zombie army giving a huge headache to the righteous path. On the righteous path side, Wei Yang and Hong Fei Yu had allied, getting an advantage over Lan Mei He and Fei Yu Wang in the aerial battles. However, Divine Dr. Xing Shou was supporting the righteous path. This person was one of the 4 great doctors of southern border, extremely proficient in healing and treating wounds and illnesses. With him there, righteous path goo masters had fewer losses, and most injuries were quickly healed, so they did not fear fighting fiercely. Xiao Shan knew if this were to continue, the righteous path would continue becoming stronger. Thus he decided to make use of a diversion while taking the initiative to attack, beginning the 5th wave of battle between righteous and demonic. On the surface, he, Sun Pang, Hu and Zhou Xingxing attacked, while Lu Zuanfeng was commanded to sneak towards the rear of the righteous path and try to kill Divine Dr. Xing Shou. But the result was, Divine Dr. Xing Shou was not killed. Instead, Shang Fu Shi of the righteous path had planned for their scheme, laying an ambush and killing Second Zombie King. With Second Zombie King dead, the demonic path's disadvantage was quickly enlarging. Around this time, Killer Ghost Dr. Cho Jiu stepped onto Etion Mountain, suppressing Divine Dr. Xing Shou. Salvaging the situation, Cho Jiu saved many demonic goo masters' lives and soon took the 3rd highest rank. Lu Zuanfeng was ranked at 2nd while Xiao Shan still was at 1st. As for Sun Pang, Hu, and Zhou Xingxing, they had already been squeezed out to the 4th and 5th. Because of Cho Jiu, the demonic path could recuperate and build up strength day by day. And because one of the rising stars of the demonic path, Mo Wu Tian, had joined and challenged many to one-on-one battles, the righteous path had lost many strong warriors. Shang Clan sent Dr. Su Shou, who together with Divine Dr. Sheng Shou managed to close the gap created by Cho Jio, a phantom path inheritor. Yin Clan's young clan leader, Yin Jun, entered the spotlight. He sneaked into Etion Mountain and killed Cho Jio before swaggering off. The Righteous Path's morale was boosted, making another attack, beginning the sixth wave of battle between righteous and demonic. However, they fell into the demonic path's trap. Cho Jio had remnant life goo. As long as his body was mostly intact, he could resurrect. After Yin Jun killed him, he had secretly resurrected while pretending to be dead, causing the Righteous Path to take the bait. In the sixth battle, Mo Wu Tian showed his demonic might, killing 3 rank 4 Gu masters in the chaotic battle. His fierce might surged, and even Yin Jun was defeated by him and suffered heavy injuries. The Righteous Path retreated in defeat, but the demonic path had also incurred huge losses. Both sides temporarily rested, trying to recover their strength. During such a situation, Fang Yuan stepped onto Etion Mountain, joining Etion Village. He had disguised himself as a rank 3 Gu master, and after joining, his status in Etion Village was outside the top 100. The higher-ups arranged him a position of guarding an archery tower. Fang Yuan was extremely low profile. Working without making any disturbances, he patiently waited for the first 3 days, and after seeing no Gu immortals had appeared to stop him, began to stealthily refine the battle will in the immortal Gu house. The number of demonic path Gu masters who had joined Etion Village had already reached 600. Among these people, some were pawns of Gu immortals, while some were not. Fang Yuan was hidden among them, and was not in the least bit conspicuous. He was secretly earning a fortune, rapidly refining the battle will in the immortal Gu house with his wisdom path grandmaster attainment. Other Gu immortals could only make their pawns fight and indirectly refine the battle will from this. But Fang Yuan did not need to fight. He could continue to unceasingly refine the battle will. After all, a Gu immortal was personally making a move. It naturally would be extraordinary. Day after day passed. The righteous and demonic sides were like 2 giant beasts. After taking a few breaths, their energy was restored, and they began to battle again. It was the 7th wave of battle, and this was a draw again. The demonic path made a crafty scheme, cutting off the righteous path supply lines. But on the righteous path side, Shang clan leader Shang Yanfei personally arrived with his forces and used gourmet food box Gu, providing a feast for the army, foiling the demonic path scheme. Next, the clan leaders of southern border super forces like Yi clan, Luo clan, Yao clan, and Xia clan also showed themselves, joining the battlefield. The battles were getting increasingly heated, affecting the minds of countless Gu masters and forces. But from Fang Yuan's viewpoint, it was simply another ordinary scene. Righteous and demonic battled. It looked to be extremely brilliant, but in fact the true manipulators were southern borders Gu immortals. During these last days, the Gu immortals had also clashed. Although they did not officially fight, they secretly schemed and strategized, each trying to cheat or outwit one another, making everyone on guard. Fang Yuan was able to obtain huge amounts of information from this, and his understanding of the world of southern borders Gu immortals increased at a rapid speed. He had refined large amounts of battle will, but graceful chaotic duel stage seemed like a bottomless pit. Time continued to pass. A month had gone by. On this day, old man Yanshi secretly came to the surroundings of Etion Mountain with over 10 Gu immortals. He took a deep breath and said in a slightly shaky tone, "Heavenly Court has already detected this and is preparing for an expedition to southern border. Time does not wait for anyone. We can only begin early." Whoosh! The Gu immortals behind him turned into shadows as they flew in all directions. Chapter 967. Trapping Immortals. Tribulations fall like rain. What's going on? At this moment, the Gu immortals of southern border, who were situated 10,000 li away from Etion Mountain, looked at the sky one after another. Even the mortal Gu masters on Etion Mountain also felt an indescribable chill. Rumble. A vague rumbling sound could be heard coming from the sky. Several breaths later, the rumbling got louder and louder, as if hundreds of people were beating war drums far away. Ever since Fang Yuan stepped on Etion Mountain, he had been making use of every second in refining the battle will. But the commotion in the sky right now was getting louder and louder, He had no choice but to temporarily stop his work and look above. From high up in the air, he saw the sky suddenly brightening with a series of white light specks. These light specks were extremely vast in scale and densely packed together. They started to fall rapidly and powerfully down towards Etion Mountain. This is the 1,000-pearl light tribulation. A Gu immortal exclaimed in shock. Wrong. The 1,000-pearl light tribulation only has 1,000 light pearls, but this tribulation has at least 100,000 light pearls. How could there be a tribulation? Many Gu immortals were baffled. Could someone be undergoing a tribulation? Most of the Gu immortals immediately looked towards Etion Mountain. Fang Yuan's heart jumped, and he became extremely vigilant. Soon, he was dripping in cold sweat as he felt waves of immaterial investigative senses scanning his whole body. Although he had vaguely familiar face, the core immortal Gu of this immortal killer move was only at rank 6. It could deceive rank 6 Gu immortals, but facing the inspection of rank 7 and rank 8, there was a huge chance of being exposed. Fang Yuan was filled with anxiety before he finally let out a sigh of relief. He was not discovered. There was no discovery? The Gu immortals were surprised. They searched Etion Mountain and its nearby surroundings, but did not discover any rank 5 Gu master that was facing a tribulation. Just when they were about to continue searching with even more powerful investigative methods, the 1,000-pearl light tribulation was already just above the immortals. Just in case, we can't let this tribulation affect Etion Mountain. Right, let's block this tribulation. Some Gu immortals started guessing. Perhaps this tribulation was caused by graceful chaotic dual stage. The southern border Gu immortals soon came to an agreement. According to the gambling agreement, if a menace appeared, the Gu immortals participating in the gambling contest would band together to obstruct it and protect their interests. Although the 1,000-pearl light tribulation was high in quantity, the Gu immortals that occupied this place had power in numbers. They included 4 rank 8, 9 rank 7, and over 10 rank 6 Gu immortals. The immortals made their moves, and soon the 1,000-pearl light tribulation was destroyed, with not even one light pearl touching the ground. It was to the extent that even some Gu immortals used their methods to draw in layers of clouds, blocking the sky of Etion Mountain and preventing the mortal Gu masters from sensing this anomaly. He, a lone cultivator rank 8 Gu immortal, Peng Shilong, stroked his beard, laughing. No matter who it is that is ascending to immortal at this moment, they are quite creative. We need to find this person. The people here are all elite Gu immortals of southern border. We can't even find a mortal who is facing tribulation. The rank 7 Gu immortal Yi Qing Tang smiled coldly. Being taken as a meat shield by someone else and used as a tool to face the tribulation made this proud Gu immortal extremely displeased. Whose descendant is this mortal? Speak up. Avoid losing your face when we find them. Gu immortal Wang Kai chuckled. The immortals looked at each other, but no one stood out. Rank 8 Gu immortal Ren Hai Yang's expression turned dark as he shouted. You don't know what is good for you. You still want to hide? Do you take us as fools? Look, another tribulation is falling. Suddenly, a Gu immortal gave a reminder. The sky was dark, like a giant had coated it with a dense black dye once. The temperature fell, and cold air emanated. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Endless ice and snow circled around like sharp blades before pouring down like a storm. Yi Qing Tang's expression turned heavy, calling out, Dark flying frost. Who is facing the tribulation? They could actually attract one of the 10 great catastrophes. No, that's wrong. The scale of this tribulation is even greater than the 10 great catastrophes. It's here. Hold it back. Rumble, lightning flashed, and inferno roared as the dark flying frost was destroyed. Dark flying frost was indeed one of the 10 great catastrophes. After this tribulation, many Gu immortals suffered injuries. Gu immortal Guo Lao was heavily injured, and he could not help but think of retreating. Strange. Could this be because graceful chaotic dual stage is about to appear? So the heavens sent down the tribulations? No, this won't do. I don't have any immortal Gu. I can't stay here, foolishly facing the tribulation. I need to leave this dangerous place before thinking of anything else. The moment he thought of this, Guo Lao turned into a ray of light as he flew away. This guy ran quite quickly. Yi Qing Tang sneered. proudly floating in the air with his hands behind his back. Dark flying frost was strong, but he could still deal with it. However, many rank 6 Gu immortals started imitating Gualao. Most of these people were bottom-tier Gu immortals, with no immortal Gu and injuries all over their bodies. However, at the next moment, Gualao's figure suddenly appeared in the center of the Gu immortals that he was stunned. How could he appear here? Shortly afterwards, many more rank 6 Gu immortals were also sent back, appearing beside Gualao. Ambush. Someone has set a huge space path Gu formation in the surroundings. Soon, a Gu immortal reacted and shouted in shock. Rank 8 auras burst out. Peng Shilong's eyes let out a ferocious light as they gazed all around. Who is it? Come out. With a sinister laugh, old man Yanshi appeared with over 10 black-robed Gu immortals, encircling the southern border Gu immortals. Old man Yanshi was at the back, his hand pointing towards the sky. Everyone, a word of advice. The third tribulation is already here. Everyone looked up. The sky was packed with lion groups. Desolate Beast, Qi Grand Lion. These lions had Qi Path Dao marks and could innately fly. There were over 6,000 Qi Grand Lions. The rank 6 Gu immortals turned deathly pale. Rank 8 Gu immortal Jia, he shouted in fury. Such little things. Get lost. He waved his sleeve, and a wild wind started blowing. Giant wind sickles, numbering in tens of thousands, shot in every direction. The lion group howled in pain, severely injured by the wind sickles. Many even died on the spot. The corpses were cut in thousands of pieces. Blood started to rain down majestically from the sky. Mixed in it were countless bone fragments and crushed flesh. Berserk Wind Jia, you are truly mighty. Old man Yanshi lightly smiled, freely giving praise. Jia, however, frowned. He had sent most of the wind sickles towards old man Yanshi, but the wind sickles were blocked by a Gu formation and were completely destroyed, while the Gu formation only rippled and had suffered no damage. Its defensive prowess was beyond imagination. Who are these people? What are they aiming for? Scheming against us. They really are audacious. They are seeking death. You dare to oppose Gu immortals of the whole of southern border. The Gu immortals shouted and cursed, while having doubts in their mind. Time did not permit for them to wait for the response of Shadow Sect. A tribulation was descending again. Roar. A majestic dragon's cry resounded throughout the surroundings. Cloud of fire spanned 10,000 li of distance and started pressing downwards. For Inferno Cloud's tribulation. Someone shouted, "Careful! I have faced this for Inferno Cloud's tribulation. It has 4 layers in total. Each layer above is much more ferocious than the one below." A fire path Gu immortal warned, "Block it." There is also the Dragon Roar tribulation. This is 2 tribulations at once. Protect surrounding Gu immortals. Maintain our strength. The Gu immortals shouted one after another, as they worked together to face these tribulations. A typical for Inferno Cloud's tribulation covers at most 100 li. Why is this so large? At Etian Mountain, Fang Yuan also watched with shock. The clouds drawn in earlier could block the vision of mortal Gu masters, but could not obstruct Fang Yuan's gaze that he felt extremely uneasy. I seem to have entered a huge trap. These black-robed Gu immortals are extremely similar to the Shadow Sect Gu immortals that He Lu Lan had described. They actually dared to scheme against so many southern border Gu immortals. What are they trying to do? It seems these tribulations are not because someone is undergoing tribulation, but their own handiwork. With old man Yanshi at the lead, Shadow Sect's immortals had constructed a giant Gu formation that completely trapped the southern border Gu immortals. The southern border Gu immortals wanted to escape and tried to break the Gu formation, but their efforts showed no results. Thus they could only face the bombardment of the tribulations that as time passed. The strength of the tribulations became more terrifying. Soon even rank 7 Gu immortals felt difficulty. After another 3 waves, rank 8 Gu immortals also struggled to cope. Their expressions looked unsightly. It was not that they had not tried breaking the formation, but their attempts had failed. Hold back this tribulation. Let me do it. Peng Shilong decided, activating his trump card. Waves of light scattered with imposing momentum, but Shadow Sect's Gu formation only shook 3 times before stabilizing again. What Gu formation is this? The southern border Gu immortals' hearts sank to rock bottom. They were unable to hide their worries. The tribulations came in succession, and the time interval between each wave became shorter and shorter. Different kinds of tribulations poured down like an endless rainstorm. The Gu immortals gradually defended more and attacked less, losing the initiative. Persevere, Jiai shouted. We still have a chance. The tribulations are coming against us continuously, but it is also affecting the surrounding Gu formation. The immortals felt a surge of morale. Despite the fact that some rank 6 Gu immortals were already dead, the remaining immortals did not give up. They held on bitterly, retaining hope. Once the Gu formation was destroyed by the tribulation, they could escape with their lives. The situation of the battlefield was observed by old man Yanshi. He saw all the changes clearly. Wuxia, he softly called. Behind him, a young man stood up. He had wavy black hair that draped down to his shoulders. His eyes shined with countless lights of all kinds of colors, forming a vortex that was slowly but constantly spiraling. He had a tall nose bridge. The contours of his lips were like knife carvings, and when they were closed, they gave off a cruel and demonic charm. However, right now, he was concentrating on the sky. His lips opened wide as a smile filled his face, revealing white teeth, unexpectedly appearing somewhat silly. Wuxia. Hearing no response behind him, old man Yanshi called again. Ah, you called for me. I was looking at the fireworks. The young Gu immortal responded with a smile. Old man Yanshi gave a bitter smile. This is not a simple display of fireworks. These are tribulations. Although they look beautiful, they contain fatal danger. These are all the work of heaven's will. It is attempting to destroy us. It is our greatest enemy. The young Gu immortal immediately revealed an earnest and serious look. Ah, so it is like that. Then tell heaven's will to come out. I will take it down. Chapter 968. 10 Extreme Immortal Zombie Lifeless Formation. Old man Yanshi sighed. Heaven's will is not a physical enemy. It is everywhere, vast and boundless. As long as the 5 regions and 9 heavens exist, heaven's will is eternal. Even if you destroy a portion of heaven's will, at the same time, another portion of heaven's will would be created. The young Gu immortal was stupefied. Then what do we do? What we are doing is defying heaven. So heaven's will is our greatest enemy. After 100,000 years of preparation, we are going to unleash an explosive strike. There is a common saying, man proposes, heaven disposes. But right now, we will be taking action all of a sudden, catching heaven's will unprepared. This can be considered to be man winning against heaven. While old man Yanshi spoke to Wuxia, he pointed with his finger. The 10 Extreme Immortal Zombie Lifeless Formation we set up has already entrapped all the southern border Gu immortals nearby. But only a small portion of this formation has been set. It cannot even display 1/10 of its might. The tribulations are constantly affecting the Gu formation. The formation won't last long at this rate. Next, I and some other Gu immortals will sacrifice our souls in setting up this formation. With this, the formation can display 90% of its might, only lacking a step for completion. The southern border Gu immortals will have no more chance to escape. So powerful. The young Gu immortal stared with wide-opened eyes, looking blankly. Old man Yanshi continued in a serious tone. After I die, you will be the strongest of us. You need to remember, you were born from a dream realm, and only have 18 hours of lifespan in total. Every 2 hours, your cultivation will rise by 1 rank. Right now, you have just advanced to rank 7. Your lifespan only has 4 hours remaining. The stronger you become, the closer your death approaches. When you advance to rank 9, no one can defend from even 1 attack of yours. Rank 9 is so powerful. The young Gu immortal had a look of ignorance. Old man Yanshi chuckled. Of course. Rank 9 is the limit in the whole world. It is the highest summit. This world cannot have rank 10, so rank 9 is the strongest. I can only live for 4 hours. Isn't the time too short? After 4 hours, will I die? Death, what is it? The young Gu immortal asked questions one after another. Old man Yanshi patiently explained. Everything has been planned properly. 4 hours is more than enough. Should the plan fail, even if you live longer, it won't change the outcome. As for death, Old man Yanshi paused, before speaking slowly with a quiet and deep voice. Death is the end of life, and is also the beginning of life. The young Gu immortal scratched his head, not fully understanding this. Old man Yanshi took a deep breath. His emaciated, aged body trembled in the wind. As if he would be blown away the next moment, he gazed far away. His eyes did not have whites, they were pitch black, but right now countless inverted images emerged in them. The inverted images were Fang Yuan, by Ningbing. The 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. Heavenly Quartz Gu Immortals, Southern Border Gu Immortals. Tian Mountain, graceful chaotic dual stage. It's time. Old man Yanshi spoke. But before I die, I will use my remaining lifespan to deduce for you. Remember my words. They will provide huge help to you. After he finished speaking, old man Yanshi's life force started to quickly weaken. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. For the first time, his face showed bewilderment. Seemingly being puzzled and terrified of the result of the deduction, he turned his head with difficulty and looked at the childlike Gu immortal with an extremely complicated gaze. His lips squirmed a few times before he finally let out several words. One of us. Be careful. Failure. He revealed the heavenly secret. With extreme difficulty, his body started turning into powder while he spoke, dissipating in the wind. When he said failure, he had no more time remaining. He completely dissipated and unraveled. His soul was absorbed by the formation, completely merging in an instant. Not only old man Yanshi, a number of shadow sects Gu immortals also sacrificed themselves, their souls merging with the formation. 90%. 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. A vast radiance suddenly soared to the sky. At this moment, even the mighty heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities seemed to dim and lose their luster. The radiance was so dazzling. All the southern border Gu immortals had to tightly close their eyes. The radiance passed in an instant, and the southern border Gu immortals quickly opened their eyes. The entire area was covered by a gigantic Gu formation. 10 Gu immortals stood in the air, separated from each other, standing at the outermost periphery, seemingly encircling the group of southern border Gu immortals. Among them, 9 Gu immortals wore black robes, their appearances covered under their hoods, veiled in mystery. The last one was the young Gu immortal, Wuxia. He looked all around him with curiosity. After all, he had begun life just 14 hours ago. It was understandable he had a mindset of exploring the novelty of this world. What is going on? What happened? This Gu formation has suddenly become much more powerful. Previously, under the bombardment of the tribulations, the formation had already been swaying unstably, but now it appeared like a giant reef at the seaside, unbreakable by the storm, standing firm and stable like a mountain. Sensing this situation, the hearts of the southern border Gu immortals sank. Rank 8 Gu immortal Ren Haiyang stopped protecting the rank 6 Gu immortals and chose a direction to attack the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation, merely putting up a facade. Die. He shouted as he clapped his hands. A giant tsunami rose from thin air. The water was incomparably vast, with a roaring sound. It fiercely charged towards a black-robed Gu immortal. Protect him. The other 3 rank 8 Gu immortals exerted themselves to block the tribulations overhead, protecting Ren Haiyang. With their help, Ren Haiyang had less pressure on him. He laughed heartily as he stopped holding back and activated his immortal essence again. Waves after waves erupted, giving a feeling of covering the sky and the sun, as if an ancient beast had opened its mouth to devour heaven and earth. Wuxia wanted to go help, but was stopped by a black-robed Gu immortal beside him. Stay. At the formation core where you're located, don't move recklessly. He can deal with it. Sure enough, the mysterious Gu immortal who faced the tsunami suddenly sent out a burst of flames that soared to the sky in an instant. With the black-robed Gu immortal at the center, the surroundings turned into a seething world of lava. Waves over 30 meters in height smashed into the formation and evaporated into white vapor. Whoosh! Immediately afterwards, the fire roared as it spread quickly, the intense temperature clearing up the vapor in an instant. Such power. I almost cannot control it. The black-robed Gu immortal was pleasantly surprised. He stood proudly in the center of the lava. The black robe on him was already mostly destroyed, revealing his true appearance. Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk. He recognized this person. The southern border Gu immortals also exclaimed in surprise. You actually are a 10 extreme immortal zombie. Blazing glory lightning brilliance. This person was precisely the blazing glory lightning brilliance zombie that had participated in the 100 Days battle and had successfully escaped. After he was captured by old ancestor Shuahu, he was then saved by blazing heaven demonis and others sent by Zombie Alliance. Who could have thought he would actually appear here? Could it be that the party scheming against the southern border Gu immortals is Zombie Alliance? That can't be. If it were Zombie Alliance, it would be impossible for blazing heaven demonists to not know of it. Perhaps Shadow Sect. These two words suddenly jumped into Fang Yuan's mind. Fang Yuan's whole body shuddered. The situation was becoming worse. His own circumstances were actually similar to the southern border Gu immortals. He was also trapped here. Ren Haiyang's attack failed, and he could only discontentedly retreat. The tribulations from the sky rained down like a storm. Not only did they not halt for even a moment, their power also continued to grow greater. The air was mixed with constant sounds of shouting and screaming. The rank 8 Gu immortals could hardly look after themselves. Many bottom-tier rank 6 had already lost their lives. These Gu immortals, who stood high and mighty above the masses under normal circumstances, were as weak as chicks and pups in front of the tribulations. Many of the rank 7 Gu immortals could only be carried along by the tide, like a small raft in a stormy sea. They had no control over their circumstances, and with any slight carelessness, they could be swallowed by the waves. The tribulations were very difficult to face, but the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation firmly withstood them all and was unshakable. While the southern border Gu immortals were in a predicament at this juncture of life and death, they let go of any previous enmity and collaborated. They soon realized their only remaining path to survival. That was the immortal Gu house graceful chaotic dual stage. This immortal Gu house had extraordinary defensive strength. It could block the vast and boundless tribulations and protect the Gu immortals at the same time. The immortal Gu house's offensive prowess was also the most suitable weapon to break through the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. The immortal Gu house graceful chaotic dual stage that lay deep under the earth was the hope of the southern border Gu immortals. Although the Forbidden Zone made it extremely difficult for the southern border Gu immortals to approach in person, it did not damage immortal Gu. Though the powers of immortal Gu were weakened greatly in there, they still surpassed the vast majority of mortal methods. Combine our strength to bombard Etion Mountain and get hold of graceful chaotic dual stage. Gu immortal Jia, he shouted. However, the only remaining ones who still had such ample strength left were the 4 rank 8 Gu immortals. The rank 7 Gu immortals, dodging and defending desperately from the tribulations, had no energy to spare. The 4 rank 8s attacked furiously, but it did not affect Etion Mountain. The thick layer of clouds above Etion Mountain had been infused with the power of the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation and could defend from the powerful attacks that it absorbed all the attacks. Clouds and fog surged intensely for a while before it was calm again. The 4 rank 8 Gu immortals' efforts showed no results. Their eyes shone with a ferocious light. They clenched their teeth as they attacked without stop. Their expressions gradually turned frantic on Etion Mountain. It was still a scene of serenity. Mortals were all kept in the dark, knowing nothing about the blood-curdling scene above them. So long as a fraction of the tribulations leaked out, they could destroy Etion Mountain completely, and all the mortal Gu masters would turn into dust. Fang Yuan gazed at the sky heavily. Was there such a situation in my previous life as well? None of us knew death was right above us. Calm down, calm down. Fang Yuan took a few deep breaths and forcibly dispelled his nervousness and unease before starting to think. The shocking and enormous action taken by Shadow Sect schemed against the southern border Gu immortals. Fang Yuan was also trapped within and could not extricate himself. Although He Lulan and Fairy Lishan have joined this gamble, they are currently in Shao Hun Blessed Land, using Luo Pa Valley to cultivate their souls. This Gu formation cuts off links between the inside and outside. It even restricts all my communication methods. Chapter 969, Losses and Deaths are Natural. Even if I still had self-strength immortal Gu, Rank 7 battle strength is simply not enough in this situation. The top priority now is still graceful chaotic duel stage. The southern border Gu immortals outside the Forbidden Zone already have no hope of taking this immortal Gu house. But I still have a chance. Only with the help of graceful chaotic duel stage will I have hope of escaping. Otherwise, I can only use Spring-Autumn Cicada. Fang Yuan thought rapidly. The only chance in front of him was to become the new owner of graceful chaotic duel stage. He had fixed immortal travel, but this immortal Gu was in his immortal aperture. The aura of immortal Gu could be easily detected, and they could only be kept safe when stored within an aperture. However, Fang Yuan had already sealed his immortal aperture. If Fang Yuan were to break the restriction of the Forbidden Zone, he would be destroyed at the first moment. He simply would not be able to last 3 breaths of time to activate fixed immortal travel. However, Spring-Autumn Cicada was not under this seal. Spring-Autumn Cicada was Fang Yuan's first vital Gu. It had long ago been placed under a different seal in his first aperture. After all this time, Spring-Autumn Cicada had already recovered for the most part, and even though it was heavily sealed, it was already giving huge pressure to Fang Yuan's first aperture. Prior to this trip, it was not that. Fang Yuan had not considered sealing fixed immortal travel and other immortal Gu in his first aperture just in case something happened. But it simply got nowhere. The aperture could store some mortal Gu, but containing a second immortal Gu was impossible. Even with fixed immortal travel, I am afraid. Fang Yuan's gaze pierced through the cloud layer, falling upon the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. His breathing turned somewhat rough. Among the southern border Gu immortals, there were Space Path Gu immortals, as well as Space Path immortal killer moves. But none of them were able to do anything. Clearly, this formation restricted Space Path as well. Its defense was extremely tight, with no loopholes that could be exploited. Gu immortals continued to die miserably under the tribulations. The 4 rank 8 Gu immortals were also injured. They knew that the longer this continued, the lower their chances. They had no choice but to work together and break through simultaneously. You are all flies trapped in a web. Where can you escape? A black-robed Gu immortal Gu blocking their way sneered. His aura was surging as his hood swayed. Northern Dark Ice Soul. Peng Shilong shouted in shock. Frost energy spread rapidly. A crystalline ice wall that was dozens of meters tall spanned in front of them all. While the 4 immortals were obstructed, a lightning strike smashed down on them. Snow War, Tribulation Lightning. Typical Snow War Tribulation Lightning was already one of the 10 great catastrophes. But this Tribulation Lightning in front of them had multiple bolts branching out, its might over dozens of times stronger. When it rains, it pours. The 4 immortals did not dare to face such lightning head-on. Among them, one activated a time path killer move to slow down the lightning, which gave the 4 immortals time to move away. The Snow War Tribulation Lightning continued on its path. As it struck the Northern Dark Ice Soul immortal zombie's crystalline ice wall, that a huge hole was pierced through the icy wall. The Northern Dark Ice Soul immortal zombie snorted as he suffered minor injuries. Heaven's will. The Northern Dark Ice Soul immortal zombie stared fiercely at the sky. The 4 southern border rank 8 Gu immortals changed their direction towards another area of the Gu formation. You shall not pass. The black-robed Gu immortal located here chuckled. Boom. Both sides attacked each other. They fought for a long time, but they were evenly matched. The 4 immortals were obstructed, and their momentum was halted. But the black-robed Gu immortal also did not have it easy. Carefree, Wisdom Heart Physique. This was another immortal zombie of the 10 extreme physiques. You are Shang Clan's Shang Gui Kai. Peng Shilong frowned, recognizing the black-robed Gu immortal's identity. Shang Clan's first supreme elder, and I have a close friendship. As a member of Shang Clan, you actually joined a demonic organization, bringing disaster to the world. A prodigal son who returns is immeasurably precious. You still have time to repent. Otherwise, if this leads to catastrophe, you will implicate your clan as well. The black-robed Gu immortal sneered with disdain. What do you understand? Shang Gui Kai is just an identity I used after soul replacement. What is mere Shang Clan? How can it compare to my great plan? Boom! A lightning bolt of the tribulation struck the 4 immortals, causing them to be on the verge of collapsing. Don't bother with him. Let's change to another direction. blazing glory, lightning, brilliance, northern dark eye, soul, carefree wisdom, heart. The 10 extreme physiques that one seldom sees in 100 years are actually appearing one after the other. I am afraid this is not a coincidence. This Gu formation should be using the 10 extreme physiques to garner such huge power. That means he is the only flaw. After they were thwarted by the carefree wisdom heart immortal zombie, the four immortals quickly communicated and fixed their gazes at the young Gu immortal Ing Wuxia. Among all the Gu immortals present, he was the most peculiar. He was alive, and at the same time, his aura revealed he did not have one of the 10 extreme physiques. The four immortals bore heavy injuries as they charged towards Ing Wuxia. Ing Wuxia's heart was thumping. He thought frantically, what to do? What to do? They are coming over. Don't be nervous. Use your most proficient method. The black-robed Gu immortal beside him immediately reminded. I am not nervous. I am not nervous. Ing Wuxia took a deep breath. His breathing, however, was rushed. But as the four immortals neared him, Ing Wuxia thought of the scene when he was born. He had been born from a dream realm. When he opened his eyes, the first person he saw was Old Man Yanshi. Old Man Yanshi had chuckled when sizing him up with his black eyes, his tone hardly concealing his happiness. Good, good, good. Pure dream reality seeker physique. You are the greatest accomplishment of my dream path research. Since Bo Qing is dead, you will replace him, becoming our greatest strength in suppressing the situation. Who are you? Who am I? Ing Wuxia curiously asked. I am you, and you are me. I am Old Man Yanshi, and you shall be called Ing Wuxia. Old Man Yanshi chuckled. He then lightly waved his arm. Countless thoughts were transferred into Ing Wuxia's mind. Ing Wuxia felt information flowing into the depths of his mind. Time is limited. I can only impart an immortal killer move to you. Although it doesn't have any killing power, it is the pinnacle of dream path achievement currently in the 5 regions at the forefront of this era. Even those heavenly court Gu immortals are far behind. As the saying goes, when you have the skill, you can eat your fill. Learn it properly. When you become a Gu immortal, I will give you a complete set of Gu worms for you to speed up your practice at that time. The recollection stopped. The 4 immortals had already neared him. Among them, Berserk Wen Jia was at the lead. Ing Wuxia's eyes suddenly let out a sharp light that he slowly spoke, like he was reciting. Immortal killer move, lead, soul, into, dream. The 4 immortals slowed down sharply and were extremely vigilant, as if they were facing a powerful foe. However, there was no movement even after several breaths of time. Kid, you actually dared to trick us. Peng Shilong was about to attack in fury. Right at this time, the rank 8 Gu immortal Jia Yi, however, began to fall down. What's going on? Just when Peng Shilong and the rest were bewildered, the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation sent out an incomparably swift attack at Jia Yi. Jia Yi made no movement. The layers of heavy defense over his whole body began to slowly dissipate. The remaining 3 immortals quickly moved to block the Gu formation's attack. Jia Yi was still falling. ZZZ. He had actually fallen asleep. That kid's behind this. Ren Haiyang was grim and frantic. The enemy was only a rank 7 Gu immortal, but Jia Yi was struck by his immortal killer move, putting up no resistance. What's more, the layers of defense over his whole body showed no effects. What killer move was this? Careful, Peng Shilong exclaimed. Another form of tribulation lightning descended. This time, countless bolts of falling star lightning struck at the speed of light, reaching the southern border Gu immortals in an instant to end this wave of tribulation. Most of the southern border Gu immortals lost their lives. Even the rank 8 Gu immortal Jia Yi, renowned as Berserk Wind for hundreds of years, was turned into countless pieces by the falling star lightning. Peng Shilong and the others were not even able to take care of themselves. They simply had no time to save him. We are finished. The 3 rank 8 Gu immortals started to despair. Ing Wuxia was indeed the flaw in the formation, but his battle strength far surpassed the imaginations of the 3 immortals. This unprecedented dream path killer move directly sent Jia Yi into deep sleep. Unable to wake up, Jia Yi died. The remaining 3 immortals' momentum immediately slowed, and their hopes of breaking through became minuscule. Hold on. On Etian Mountain, Fang Yuan, who had been observing the battlefield, also started to feel anxious. Even if he became the owner of graceful chaotic dual stage, with just his strength, it would be hard to activate the enormous immortal goo house. It would be like a lone person controlling a battleship. It would be extremely difficult for him to make use of it.so. He had to ally with the southern border goo immortals. The more goo immortals in the immortal goo house, the more immortal essence would be consumed, the more power the immortal goo house could unleash. Just with Fang Yuan alone, it would be impossible to increase the immortal goo house's strength to the level where it could break through the formation. Time passed. The 3 rank 8 goo immortals were extremely exhausted, let alone the few remaining rank 7 goo immortals who were fleeing desperately from the tribulations. When Rin Haiyang perished under the tribulations, the remaining 2 rank 8s had lost all hope. It's over now. Fang Yuan exhaled painfully. Sigh, now I can only continue with my disguise and hope I won't be discovered. But right when the rank 7 and rank 6 goo immortals had all died, with only the 2 rank 8 goo immortals remaining, Etian Mountain suddenly began to shake. Soon, the tremor increased rapidly. The earth was shaking. What's going on? The tremor attracted the gazes of the 2 rank 8 goo immortals. Could it be that graceful chaotic dual stage has been obtained by you? The 2 rank 8 goo immortals said to each other with strange tones. Both were stupefied, realizing it was not due to them. Fang Yuan's body shook. He had yet to refine the immortal goo house. So who was it? Boom! Boulders cracked. The ground opened up, and from the huge rift jumped out a figure. The great strength, true martial immortal zombie. He had actually gotten free of the immortal goo house's suppression and flew to the sky. However, before Fang Yuan and the others could react, a cold snort resounded throughout the scene. You want to escape fate in front of us? Die. A beam of light shot down from the sky. Rank 9 Immortal Goo House. Heaven Overseeing Tower. Heavenly Court Immortals had arrived. The pure white beam of light was extremely terrifying, breaking apart the 10 extreme formation like snapping a rotten branch. The 2 southern border rank 8s were immediately exterminated. Damn it. The rank 8 great strength true martial immortal zombie was not able to dodge, and could only roar in extreme unwillingness as he was turned into fine powder by the beam of light. The beam of light continued its path as it shot down onto Etian Mountain. Am I going to die? Fang Yuan raised his head and clenched his teeth. All the muscles in his body tensed at a rank 9 Immortal Goo House's full power attack. He had no way to defend from it. He only had one remaining trump card. Spring Autumn Cicada. At the next moment, Fang Yuan's self-dash detonated. It failed. Spring Autumn Cicada was carrying Fang Yuan's will and had just entered the river of time when it suddenly crumbled, exploding into countless tiny fragments. Fang Yuan was dead. Chapter 970. Rebirth. Ghostface. Red Lotus. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios legend says there was a river in this world that connected the beginning and the end. It had hidden causes and effects, flowing to every part in the world. It was everywhere. With its irrigation, the world could operate normally and all things were able to change. This river was called the River of Time. This was a secluded domain of heaven and earth, a place where time path flourished and countless time path goo worms lived and propagated. The endless river flowed wantonly without pause. The river was vast and boundless. Its tides rose and fell along with the surging waves. Each drop of the water of time was pale and colorless, but innumerable droplets of water crashed, intertwined, collided, and spun all the time, giving off a brilliant show of lights. These brilliant lights were in all kinds of shapes and colors, and were hard to put into words. Fang Yuan felt this was one of the most beautiful sights in the world. When the rank 9 Immortal Goo House, Heaven Overseeing Tower, sent out the attack which it had prepared for a long time, Fang Yuan was like a bystander that had been implicated, unable to avoid it. His only remaining option was to activate Spring Autumn Cicada. However, the rank 6 Spring Autumn Cicada had a huge flaw. There was a chance of failure every time it was used. At Qingmao Mountain, Fang Yuan successfully activated it once at Sancha Mountain. Fang Yuan successfully activated it again, that if his previous life of 500 years was counted, Then Fang Yuan had already successfully activated Spring-Autumn Cicada 3 times. Now, he had finally failed. Spring-Autumn Cicada's activation failed. Although his will entered the river of time, at the moment of activation, Spring-Autumn Cicada self-detonated, turning into countless fragments. Fang Yuan's will was like a baby that had lost the small boat it was in and was drowning. The surging river of time would engulf and destroy Fang Yuan's will in an instant. Not even a trace would remain. In the end, I still failed. At the moment of death, Fang Yuan's remaining will was strangely tranquil. There was no worry, no discontent, and no regret. When he had first chosen this path, he had already expected the situations that could occur. The situation right now had already been within Fang Yuan's consideration. He could do nothing now that he had already done everything he could. If a chance was given to me again, I would still choose to live this way. So be it. My story as a Gu immortal shall end here. Although I did not leave behind any biography or inheritance, but it doesn't matter. Fang Yuan's will was quickly dissipating. He was tranquil, even feeling happy in a way. If he still had a face, the corners of his lips would probably be curled up into a smile right now. Dying while pursuing one's goal, what regrets could he have? Fang Yuan's laughter abruptly stopped. A strange change was occurring at this moment. From the remote and grand river of time, a ghost face suddenly came out. The ghost face first looked at Fang Yuan's remaining will and made faces, seemingly in silent mockery. Then, the pitch-black ghost face's cheeks swelled up. Its expression seemed like one of extreme suffering, like it was going to vomit. At a giant flower bud, dripping wet, came out from the ghost face's mouth. The ghost face's mouth almost ripped apart. Its lips had stretched to an exaggerated degree, even reaching its ears. After vomiting out the flower bud, the ghost face relaxed before starting to make faces at Fang Yuan again. It was amusingly comical, but at the same time was a ghastly and terrifying smiling expression. And that flower bud started to slowly blossom in the river. Time seemed to have stopped at that moment. In the blink of an eye, the flower bud opened, turning into an enchanting red lotus. From the center of the lotus shot out a slightly red light ray that landed at the area where Spring-Autumn Cicada had shattered. The time and the red light began to turn back at the same time. The ghost face that had carried the red lotus slowly sank down into the river. Like a movie being played backwards, everything began to go backwards, as if water spilled from a basin was returning. Fang Yuan's will had almost completely dissipated. The scant few bits remaining were negligible. But under the illumination of the red light, his will began to rapidly restore, and countless goo worm fragments also began to appear. And when these goo worm fragments joined together, they turned into an intact Spring-Autumn Cicada. Spring-Autumn Cicada carried Fang Yuan's restored will and began to set on its path again. The red light dissipated. The red lotus immediately scattered, and that ghost face also had been completely washed down into the endlessly surging river of time. It was as if everything had been an illusion. However, Spring-Autumn Cicada was already forcibly restored. It carried Fang Yuan's will, carrying Fang Yuan's remaining hopes as it flowed in the river, flowing backwards, returning to the past. Star-formed blessed land. Poisonous fog was spreading. Poisonous blood was boiling. 3 layers of goo formations were already destroyed by corrosion. The surrounding land turned into a thin layer of poisonous swampland. Fang Yuan's face was stern. Next is the most troublesome and difficult to process immortal material, earthly limit astral chi. He took out an immortal material and held it in his hands. This goo refinement material was very peculiar. It was made up of soil and chi. They gathered into a lump. The top was light azure-colored astral chi, below was black soil. Astral chi was the heaven chi found up in the 9 heavens. Outside the immemorial 9 heavens was a thick wall of astral chi. If a Gu immortal wanted to explore the 9 heavens, they would need to break through the astral chi wall. Meanwhile, the black soil was made up of the essence of earth chi condensed from the 10 depths. Heaven and earth chi could not coexist, but at this moment, this earthly limit astral chi was joined together in harmony. Not only were they existing peacefully, they were converting into one another constantly. Black soil turned into astral chi while astral chi turned into black soil. Fang Yuan shook it by moving his hands rapidly. As this lump of earthly limit astral chi melted, fusing with the black soil and becoming a lump of fog. But after shaking, after a dozen breaths, the black soil sank while the astral chi stayed on top. Black and white was separated again. The two were rotating. It was a mystical sight. Processing such an immortal material is most troublesome. Ordinary refinement path killer moves cannot deal with it perfectly. Only the 4 publicly recognized strongest immortal killer moves to deal with immortal materials: slumbering lightning python, reflect snow, muffled thunderstone drum, and wind grind, can complete this step instantly. Unfortunately, I do not have any of these 4 immortal killer moves to process the earthly limit astral chi. I can only put in much time and effort. Fang Yuan's thoughts flashed as he moved his feet. His huge body shot into the air. He leaped and jumped into the turtle shell, into the poisonous blood. Boom! Fang Yuan flashed his sharp nails, causing injuries on his 6 monstrous arms. He next slashed at his chest, back, and other areas, creating openings on his skin. Blood refinement killer move. Blood trace travel. From these injuries, traces of blood appeared. The blood traces quickly fused into the dark purple poisonous blood. The poisonous blood in the turtle shell was drawn away. It moved into Fang Yuan's wounds. Intense pain assaulted him. Fang Yuan snorted. Immortal zombies did not have a sense of pain. Fang Yuan could feel pain because he used goo worm methods. He needed to feel pain so that he could know what step the immortal materials were at. Fang Yuan's blood and the poisonous blood in the turtle shell acting as a pot continued to fuse and circulate. They were entering and exiting Fang Yuan's body. After this process stabilized, Fang Yuan took out the earthly limit astral chi and swallowed it. Gulp! The earthly limit astral chi entered his stomach. This was his own original method, created in his previous life, an abnormal technique using blood path to refine goo. He called this the flesh-body-blood refinement technique. The earthly limit astral chi entered his body. It was engulfed by the blood and slowly melted into the blood. Blood flowed out of Fang Yuan's body through the wounds, into the turtle shell pot, and sank to the bottom at the same time. The other poisonous blood in the pot flowed into Fang Yuan's body through the wounds, engulfing the earthly limit astral chi again. Time slowly passed. 3 days and 2 nights later, Fang Yuan was covered in wounds. The pain made his face distorted. His 8 monstrous arms were inserted into the poisonous blood. His fangs were exposed, and his eyes were red. He was breathing heavily like an ox. Still a night remaining. I need to completely process all the earthly limit astral chi in my body. As long as I can get past this step, the most difficult part of refining change form immortal goo would be over. Suddenly, Fang Yuan's pained expression stiffened. Under his deep, frowning expression, his bright eyes suddenly showed confusion, almost losing all their luster. When refining immortal goo, one had to maintain high degrees of concentration. How could he be allowed to be distracted? PFF. He immediately spat out a large mouthful of poisonous blood. Shortly afterwards, he fell down heavily in the poisonous blood in the giant turtle shell, raising a huge wave of blood. The bloody wave splashed out of the turtle shell into the grassland. Soon, a large patch of healthy green grass turned into dark red smoke due to the corrosion. Master, Star Form Land Spirit shouted worriedly, jumping into the turtle shell. Suddenly, Fang Yuan's head emerged from the pool of blood. He splashed around twice before standing up. The confusion on his face quickly disappeared, his gaze brimming with energy as he mumbled, "This is this place." Hearing Fang Yuan's mumbling, Star Form Land Spirit became even more worried. Did Master lose his mind because of the refinement failure? Fang Yuan gazed at his hands first, then swept through the turtle shell and the blood pool, before finally stopping on Star Form Land Spirit. "What time is it now?" Fang Yuan asked. Star Form Land Spirit jolted inwardly, but still replied, "Many days have already passed since Master began refining the immortal goo." Ha ha ha. Fang Yuan raised his head and laughed heartily. Star Form Land Spirit felt bleak. Oh no, Master has lost his mind. After failing the immortal goo refinement, his body suffered heavy injuries. He has even forgotten the time, and is still laughing so happily. There was no need for Fang Yuan to tell others about the reason for his happiness. I have returned once again. Despite the activation of spring-autumn cicada failing, because of a strange change, I returned to life from death, from defeat to victory. My will has once again returned to the past. I am still refining change form immortal goo. The time is over a year ago. This is actually so short. According to my foundation, and with so many immortal goo on me, I should have at least traveled several hundred years back. Is it because spring-autumn cicada failed to activate that I only returned to a point over a year ago? Also, that ghost face and the red lotus. What was going on? What had happened?